You are listening to Pursuit of the Truth by a Gen, Episode 9, covering chapters 25, 26, and 27. Su Ming's power is now undeniable, but the dangers have reached a cosmic scale. This segment features a significant confrontation with an ancient entity or force, leading to profound revelations about the true history of the world and his destiny. The lines between what is real and what is a lie begin to blur, forcing Su Ming to question his entire existence. Prepare for the ultimate confrontation with the past. Chapter 25. Her name is Bai Ling. Su Ming was nervous. The qi within the man standing before him felt stronger than Lei Chen's. He was probably around the 5th or 6th level of the blood solidification realm. Su Ming could not hope to win against such a person. If the man decided to attack him, Su Ming would have had a hard time dodging it. However, he needed a large number cloud gauze grass, which would require a lot of stone coins. Due to this, he had to take a risk. Besides, after he killed Yu Kai in the forest, he felt that his mindset had changed somewhat. The knowledge he obtained by reading the beast skin scrolls he got from the elder were now deeply ingrained in his mind. Somewhere in his mind, he thought that if he could not overpower the other party with his qi, he could at least make his opponent hesitate. Then, his opponent would not act rashly. That was why he chose to disguise himself before going into the tent at first. Secondly, he brought the wild beast with him. All of it was to create shock at the right time. It seemed that his actions produced pretty good results, but Su Ming was still nervous. He did not dare let his guard down. In truth, Su Ming was not the only nervous one in the tent. The man was possibly even more nervous than Su Ming. He would occasionally glance at the spot where the creature died. When he saw the pile of dust, his heart would race, not out of excitement, but out of fear. In the man's sight, the person before him, covered entirely in hides, gave off an enigmatic air. It put a lot of pressure on the man, especially with the shocking scene that happened just moments ago. The anxiety and nervousness he felt towards Su Ming was far stronger than what Su Ming felt towards him. This man is very experienced. He speaks calmly, but he is a ruthless man. He must be a fallen berserker who went into hiding in one of the mountains. But from his mannerisms, he seems to be someone reasonable. But I don't think this weird medicine will be very strong. As the man was drowning in his own fears, there were footsteps outside the tent. Then, the flaps of the tent were lifted and a man walked in. The man's face was blank. When he walked into the tent, he did not say a word. He stood by the side waiting for the one-eyed man's orders. When the other man came in, Su Ming only cast him a glance. The presence of his qi was not thick. He was the same as Su Ming. They were both practitioners at the 2nd level of the blood solidification realm. Eat this and this as well. The one-eyed man did not hesitate and handed the pill along with an herb to the other man who just came in. The other man took the pill and the herb, his face still blank, and swallowed it after a few bites. Then he sat down with his legs crossed, circulating the qi in his body. Very soon, his whole demeanor changed as if he was surprised. He opened his eyes before long and looked at the one-eyed man with uncertainty. There aren't really any major effects. I just felt the effects of the prime spirit grass increase, maybe about 1-fold. When the one-eyed man heard his words, he immediately narrowed his eyes as his heart hammered against his chest. He knew what the increase of effects for any herbal medicine by 1-fold would bring. If it was just a normal herb, the effects would not be obvious. However, if it was the sort of herb taken by berserkers above the 8th level of the blood solidification realm, the value of the pill would practically be immeasurable. For a normal herb worth 10 stone coins, this item would only be worth 1 stone coin. But if it were an herb that was worth 100 or 1,000 stone coins, the increased effect. The one-eyed man grew more excited as he thought of the possibilities, but he could not be sure that the item would have the same effect for higher-leveled herbs. It's a pity I don't have a lot of stone coins on my person. He quelled his excitement and sent the other man away. Then he stood respectfully before Su Ming and forced a smile. "Sir, this medicine of yours is really mysterious. I'll give you 30 stone coins in exchange for one. How does that sound?" The one-eyed man did not dare offend Su Ming. To him, Su Ming was a fallen berserker. If he could produce such a powerful medicine, He was definitely not a common berserker practitioner. 30 coins. The price offered made Su Ming's heart pound in excitement, but he spoke with a colder voice instead. This, sir, 30 coins is my final offer. I can't even be sure whether this medicine works the same for higher-leveled herbs. The one-eyed man immediately explained himself, but before he could finish, Su Ming cut him off. If you consume this medicine, no matter what herb you take, the effects will increase by 1-fold. If I didn't want to buy a berserker vessel, I wouldn't even sell this. The one-eyed man struggled internally for a while before he gritted his teeth and nodded at Su Ming. How many do you have? Besides the one you just ate, there's still one more. As Su Ming spoke, he produced a small bottle from his chest. There was only one scattering dust pill in the bottle. When the man heard this, he felt his heart twisting in pain at the loss of the first pill. As he hesitated, he saw Su Ming standing up and putting away the bottle. Then Su Ming lifted his hand, which turned the small creature into red mist earlier. He was also glaring at him from behind the layers of hides that covered his face. The man immediately remembered that he wasted a pill as an experiment and quickly spoke up. Sir, this 50 coins. This is really all I can give you. Su Ming did not want to linger around for too long, so he spoke flatly. Fine. Along with the pill you used just now, that'll be 100 stone coins. The one-eyed man only hesitated for a short while before producing a beast skin pouch from his chest. He handed it to Su Ming respectfully. There were 2 white stone coins inside. The value of the stone coins were decided by their color. The gray ones were worth 1 each, and 1 black coin was equivalent to 10 gray coins. As for the white coin, it was equivalent to 50 gray coins. If it was a purple coin, it was worth 100 gray coins. Give me black coins. Su Ming only glanced at the 2 coins before he spoke all of a sudden. The one-eyed man was taken aback, but only for a moment. He did not ask any questions. Instead, he produced 10 black stone coins and gave them to Su Ming. After placing the stone coins into his pouch, Su Ming threw the little bottle to the man. He picked up the basket on the ground and left the tent without another glance at the man. Once he left the tent, Su Ming did not act immediately. He chose to walk around the square. The moon and stars were shining brightly in the sky, and there were torches lit everywhere. Yet, there were still a lot of people at the square. However, most of the people who were shopping at that moment were all dressed up like Su Ming. He wandered around the square until he was sure no one was watching him. Then he went to the places selling cloud gauze grass that he singled out in the morning. He bought more than 60 of them. After that, he went to a more secluded place to change his attire. He left quickly and went to the place he promised to meet up with Lei Chen. Lei Chen was already at their meeting place, yawning up at the sky. Su Ming did not speak but walked past Lei Chen. Lei Chen was surprised but followed suit. Both of them disappeared into the forest soon and ran once they were in there. Su Ming even changed his path multiple times. He did not stop to rest until the sky started to darken the next day. Even then, his face was pale due to fear. Lei Chen was panting hard. He did not understand it, but he chose not to ask. He especially decided to keep his silence when Su Ming threw 5 stone coins in his direction. Once he caught them, he laughed excitedly. They took a short break before Su Ming stood up once more. He ran with Lei Chen towards the direction of their tribe. He did not stop this time but ran at full speed. In fact, his speed seemed to increase with each step he took. His qi might not have been as powerful as Lei Chen's, but in terms of speed, even Lei Chen struggled to keep up. I had a pretty good haul this time. I originally thought that if I could not sell the pills, I would experiment with 5 pieces of cloud gauze grass first. I didn't expect things to go so smoothly. As Su Ming ran, he appeared to be deep in thought. The one-eyed man should be scared of me, but I still can't let my guard down. I have to return to the tribe as soon as possible. Su Ming was careful all the way back to the tribe. They were far away from the square by then, but they would still change their paths occasionally. Su Ming even used his experiences in the forest to erase their tracks. The sun lit up the sky, but there was still some time before noon. Su Ming and Lei Chen caught sight of their tribe some distance away. When he saw the tribe, Su Ming finally relaxed. There was even a smile on his face. "We're finally back. Su Ming, you still haven't told me how you knew Bai Ling was a member of Dark Dragon tribe." Lei Chen was gasping as he tried to catch his breath. As Su Ming slowed down, he grabbed the chance to ask him the one question that had been on his mind. Bai Ling. The image of the tall and beautiful girl surfaced in Su Ming's head. He thought especially of the girl wrinkling her nose and looking at them with her bright eyes. She seemed feral, but it was a wild sort of beauty. "I didn't know that she was from Dark Dragon tribe." Su Ming smiled. The girl named Bai Ling was the prettiest girl he had ever seen since he was young. "No way. If you didn't know, how did you manage to get it right in one go?" Lei Chen had been thinking about it for a long time, but he still could not get an answer. Now that Su Ming did not intend to tell him the answer, he became desperate. Su Ming took one look at Lei Chen and laughed out loud. "Lei Chen, you like her?" "Nonsense." Lei Chen shook his head fervently, then began mumbling under his breath. "She's too thin for my liking. I like those who are a bit on the plump side." Lei Chen scratched his head. He had always liked women who were a little more built since he was young. Even now, it was still the same. Su Ming continued laughing and joking with Lei Chen as he ran back towards the tribe. The sounds of carefree laughter and camaraderie resounded in the cold winter. The tattoos of the Dark Dragon were on the three men behind Bai Ling. The only ones who like painting dark dragons on their body around this area are the people from Dark Dragon tribe. As they were near their tribe, Su Ming told Lei Chen between laughs. When Lei Chen heard the answer, he immediately laughed wryly. He did not expect the answer to be so simple. Su Ming and Lei Chen returned to their houses safely. As Su Ming brought out the cloud gauze grass he bought, his eyes were bright with anticipation. "Mountain spirit. I wonder what its effects are once I finish making it. The elder told me to not leave the tribe for the time being. I'll return as soon as possible. I don't think I'll be gone for long." Su Ming made his decision after he was deep in thought. At the same time Su Ming made his decision, something big happened at the square far away from Dark Mountain tribe. The cause of it all was the round pill Su Ming created. Once Su Ming left, the one-eyed man pondered for a long time in his tent and refused to accept any more clients who wanted to trade with him. As he was thinking, he gritted his teeth. He quickly took the bottle containing the pill to the owner of the square, who resided in the large purple tent. Chapter 26. The Night of the Blood-Red Moon. The one-eyed man waited for a long time before he was summoned. When he was called, he entered the tent respectfully. After an hour, he exited the tent with an ecstatic expression, his mannerisms still respectful as he left. Within the purple tent were two elderly men with completely white hair, but their eyes still held a lot of life and vigor. Before them laid a very normal-looking, empty small bottle. One of the old men who wore a white robe held a pill between his fingers. He looked at it for a while. Then slowly, his gaze was filled with surprise and uncertainty. He sank into deep thought for a moment, after which, he brought the pill to his nose and took a sniff. He closed his eyes in concentration. After a long moment, he opened his eyes abruptly. "It's just like he said. This pill has unbelievable effects. I've been in Windstream tribe for many years, but I've never seen such a thing in my life. By the looks of it, it doesn't seem to be a medicine made from a long time ago either. There isn't any sign of age on it, so it's clear that it has just been made recently. Just what is this? It's a pity a long time has passed since the trade took place. The fallen berserker is not an easy person to deal with either, or else we might get to know how this pill was made." The other old man spoke slowly. "Don't be reckless. A person who can produce such an item is either a very powerful berserker in the blood solidification realm, or a fallen berserker at the transcendence realm who came from somewhere else. Brother Jew, let me take this thing back to the tribe. Perhaps the elder in Windstream tribe can identify it." As the old man in white spoke, he carefully placed the pill back into the small bottle. Then he waved his right hand and the small bottle disappeared. "You do that." The old man sitting before him nodded his head. "This item is too important. I'll be taking my leave first. If I get any information, I'll tell you." The old man in white stood up. He then held his fist and palm together as a salute towards the old man called Qiú. He quickly left the purple tent. The moment he stepped out of the tent, the outline of his body became distorted. He turned into white mist and rose into the sky. Instantly, he disappeared. Daylight had almost arrived. On the vast plains some distance away from the square was a big tribe. The size of the tribe was almost equivalent to the size of a city. It was surrounded by 6 other tribes the size of Dark Mountain tribe. In the very middle was a big city made of stone and dirt. The city looked magnificent, like a giant beast had arrived on the land. The citizens within the city alone numbered more than thousands. It was not something Dark Mountain tribe could ever hope to overcome. The 6 surrounding tribes were affiliated with the city. Some of them were conquered by Windstream tribe, while some sought protection when some sort of disaster befell them and they became part of Windstream tribe. Windstream tribe was a medium-sized tribe, but it was still considered weak for a medium-sized tribe. After all, Dark Mountain was located at a rather rural area in the world. However, it was precisely because of that, Windstream tribe could rule over the entire area and accept tributes offered by numerous smaller tribes. It was also the only tribe in Dark Mountain that was qualified to contact members of the Berserker tribe belonging to the upper class. As the sun began to light up the sky, a white mist flew across the sky. It gathered outside the city and transformed into the old man in white. The old man looked solemn as he immediately walked into the city. On the way, he met other members of Windstream tribe. All of them would stop and bow towards him respectfully. At the center of the city was a completely dark altar. The altar was built in the shape of a pentagon and was 100 feet tall. There was a drawing of a bird on it. The altar looked as if it was left behind since ancient times. The old man in white stood underneath the altar respectfully. After a moment, a gentle voice traveled from the top of the altar. "Shahai, what is it?" "Elder, I was at Durant Square and saw a medication I've never seen before. The effects of this herb are incredible." The old man in white took a deep breath and spoke in a low voice. "Oh, let me see it." The gentle voice spoke slowly from atop the altar. The old man in white lifted his right hand and bright light appeared from his palm. A small bottle materialized itself instantly. Then, as if there was some mysterious force attracting the small bottle, it floated upwards slowly towards the altar. It was quiet around the area. The only sounds were that of the wind passing by. The wind caused the old man's robes to flutter. He stood there, as still as a statue, and waited silently. After a moment, the gentle voice spoke once again, but this time, there was a tinge of surprise in it. "There's only one." "Only one," the old man in white replied immediately. "I've never seen a medication like this before. The makeup of this medication is something I don't understand. And it's clear this was made not too long ago. Who brought this to the square?" The gentle voice spoke solemnly. "A fallen berserker," the old man in white spoke in a low tone. "Find him. Use all the resources we have and find him. Tell him to join Windstream tribe and I will treat him as a permanent guest here." The gentle voice exclaimed almost immediately after the old man spoke the last syllable. The old man in white took a deep breath and complied to the order respectfully. He could identify that the medicine was out of ordinary, but he did not expect the elder to invite the person to Windstream tribe as a permanent guest. The status of a permanent guest was treated with extreme respect. Besides the tribe leader, the elder and few other people, they were treated almost with the same importance as the other leaders of the tribe. As the old man in white went away, he immediately had the entire Windstream tribe carry out the elder's orders. He had cast a huge net to search for the fallen berserker. As for Su Ming, he had just made a decision at home in Dark Mountain tribe. Hence in the morning of the second day, he left the tribe alone and went into the forest. Then, he ran towards Black Flame Mountain. Su Ming traversed through the forest without any hesitation. After reaching the second level of the blood solidification realm, his speed and agility had increased so much even Lei Chen had a hard time keeping up with him at full speed. As he ran through the forest, his speed increased even further due to his familiarity with the place. By noon, he had arrived at the foot of Black Flame Mountain. He climbed up Black Flame Mountain and went to the cave which he used for the quenching of herbs. Su Ming placed the basket down on ground. There were a lot of herbs in there, all of which he prepared for the purpose of quenching. Xiao Hong was not in the cave. It was most probably out playing. Su Ming cast a glance around the cave. Once he was certain there were no signs of abnormality around, he sat down cross-legged on the ground. He concentrated on circulating the blood in his body until the 10 blood veins shone brightly on his body and his body reached the best condition possible. There were even vague signs of the 11th blood vein manifesting itself, which could allow Su Ming to reach the 3rd level of the blood solidification realm. The elder helped me to truly awaken, and he did say I was about to reach the 3rd level. Not a lot of time passed since then, but I feel that there's enough blood within me now. The ancient berserker art is truly amazing. Su Ming opened his eyes, and the scene of the black substance oozing out of his body surfaced in his mind. I might as well put aside creating more pills for now and break through the 2nd level. Su Ming only took a moment to make his decision and brought out the sky stone he pillaged the other day from his bosom. He took a look at the herb and swallowed a scattering dust before plucking a leaf from the herb and swallowing it as well. He closed his eyes and meditated once again. After a moment, Su Ming's body was covered in sweat and surrounded by blood-red light. The 11th blood vein showed signs of manifesting completely. After a few hours, a muffled sound resounded throughout Su Ming's body and the 11th blood vein manifested itself completely. A much stronger presence of qi immediately erupted from Su Ming's body. Su Ming opened his eyes, which shone brilliantly. The 3rd level of the blood solidification realm. He stood up, his face bright with excitement. After he moved his body to remove the numbness in his limbs, he brought out the herbs. He began the process of creating mountain spirit according to the methods in his memory. Su Ming was no longer as clueless as he was a few months ago. He was already familiar with the process of quenching herbs and even more so at controlling the fire in the cave. As the temperature within the cave increased, Su Ming took off his clothes and stood beside the stone cauldron half naked. At times he would bring one of the herbs to his nose, whereas other times, he would crush the herbs and throw them into the cauldron. Time passed by. The sky gradually began to darken. Silence also fell upon the forest and mountains. Even the sounds of the birds and beasts became a muffled whisper. As the sky darkened, the moon rose into the sky, but the moon that night was different from the other nights. It was in a shade so red like there was a blood-red moon in the sky. The strange sight immediately covered the land with a strange atmosphere. It was especially so for the area around Dark Mountain. The sounds from the birds and the beasts completely disappeared. There was not even the slightest whisper from them. It was as if they did not dare to make a sound. A red shadow sped through the forest at the foot of Black Flame Mountain. It was the little monkey. At that moment, its gaze was solemn and alert. It would lift its gaze towards the red moon occasionally and distress would flicker across its features. As it ran forward, it hesitated. It still did not know that Su Ming had returned. It changed its direction and no longer ran towards Black Flame Mountain. Instead, it hid itself somewhere in the forest. As the sky grew darker, the moon shone a brighter shade of red. By the time midnight arrived, the entire Dark Mountain seemed to have been dyed in blood. At that moment, a weak cry came from within Dark Mountain. The cry grew louder as time passed and eventually grew so loud it traveled past Dark Mountain. The cry seemed to be filled with endless resentment. Those who heard it were filled with fear. It was a cry that seemed to shake the soul. If anyone listened to it for a prolonged amount of time, they would feel like their blood was boiling. It terrified them. The cry echoed through the skies as if it reflected the blood-red moon. It made Dark Mountain appear to be shrouded in mystery. That night, the 3 tribes around Dark Mountain were filled with wariness. The normal members of the tribe in Dark Mountain tribe all returned to their houses under the protection of the berserkers within the tribe. They were told not to leave unless it was absolutely necessary. The tribe leader also personally took command of the berserkers to protect the tribe. The elder stood at the highest place in the tribe. It was a stage made of giant wood. In his hands was the black bone cane. As he looked afar, his eyes were tainted with a hint of worry. He felt Su Ming leave the tribe earlier, but he did not expect the blood moon, which only occurred once every 3 years, to happen that night. It was months earlier than the previous appearances of the blood-red moon. The strange phenomenon made him surprised and fearful. Fire! After a long while, The elder spoke. Immediately, the tribe members surrounding the giant wooden stage brought out torches and placed them underneath the stage. The torches caused the stage to burn. The elder on the stage looked as if he was caught in a sea of fire, but he was calm as he chanted in a strange language. Dark Mountain Tribe was not the only one who did this. At the same time, in another direction from Dark Mountain Tribe, the same also happened in Dark Dragon Tribe. The elder of Dark Dragon Tribe wore a loose robe. The elder's hair was also down. There was no telling whether the elder was a man or a woman. In the elder's hands was the skull of a strange, one-horned beast. The elder lifted it up high and a piercing cry escaped the elder's lips. Among the tribe members of Dark Dragon Tribe stood a girl of extreme beauty. Her face was pale as she looked at the blood-red moon in the sky. Chapter 27. The Legend of the Fire Berserker. The girl was Bai Ling. She was scared as she looked at the elder of the tribe on the altar and the other tribe members whose faces were also similarly pale with terror. The blood moon only appears once every 3 years, and it appears only after all the snow has melted on Dark Mountain. There would then be enough wild beasts to be sacrificed so that we can prevent disasters. But now, it has appeared far too early. Bai Ling bit her lip and looked around her, seemingly even more afraid. As for Su Ming, he was in the fire cave concentrating on creating and refining medication. He was covered in sweat as he watched the stone cauldron carefully, and he adjusted the temperature of the fire as he saw fit. Very soon, there was a muffled blast within the cauldron. Su Ming laughed bitterly and wiped the sweat off his forehead. He knew that he had failed once again. The mountain spirit is much harder to make compared to scattering dust. Su Ming shook his head and opened the cauldron. A puff of green smoke with a spicy scent emerged from within. He sighed. Just as he was about to continue, he suddenly felt his qi boiling in his body as though he had lost control of it. He frowned, surprised. He looked around him to see what could have possibly caused such a change, but he found nothing. That's odd. Su Ming scratched his head. He only stopped for a while before he resuming his attempts to create mountain spirit. At that moment on the other side of Dark Mountain, where Black Mountain Tribe was located, the tribe members were also looking at the moon. However, their expressions were different from that of Dark Mountain Tribe and Dark Dragon Tribe. Unlike the other two tribes, their eyes were filled with fear and bloodlust. Roars escaped their lips. It was not just the berserkers who roared. Even the normal members of the tribe did so. Their cries gradually became one and turned into a giant, roaring wave. Within the center of the crowd was a small hill made up of numerous red stones. Sitting on the small hill was a willowy old man wearing a black robe. The old man's eyes were cold as he stared at the blood-red moon. There was a cruel smile on his lips. Since ancient times, the Fire Berserker tribe roamed the earth. The tribe had powers that shook the earth. They controlled all the fire on heaven and earth. If they were angered, they could even burn the heavens to ashes and become gods themselves. Their names spread through the lands so widely that even those who did not belong to the Berserker tribe feared them. They were known as one of the 8 great Berserker tribes. The willowy old man spoke with a hoarse voice. It was as if he was talking to all the people in the world. But because the tribe wanted to steal an artifact from heaven, they were punished by the god of Berserkers. After 9 days and 9 nights, the entire Fire Berserker tribe was destroyed except for the Berserkers. Those who did not have the Berserker body were all burned alive and their souls shattered. Even when such a disaster befell the Fire Berserker tribe, the Berserkers within the tribe did not die. They wanted to rebel against the god of Berserkers and become gods themselves. The god of Berserkers laid down his punishment. Just as he was about to use his powers and bring annihilation to the entire tribe, the elder of the Fire Berserker tribe fought against the god of Berserkers. The battle shook the heavens. The elder of the Fire Berserker tribe died in battle, but before his death, he cast a forbidden spell that made the god of Berserkers afraid. It allowed him to grant immortality to all the Fire Berserker tribe members who had not died. Awe appeared in the willowy old man's eyes. He raised his right hand and immediately, black mist surrounded his wrinkled hand and transformed into a terrifying shape of a spirit. But he made a mistake. He may have allowed all the Berserkers in the Fire Berserker tribe to obtain immortality, but the god of berserkers used the powers of creation and made them all lose their physical bodies. They became the wings of the blood moon. From then on, they became beings that could no longer see light. They lost their conscience and became the wings of the moon which lusted after blood. Their resentment, hate, anger, and sadness have turned into a monstrous grudge that turns the moon red once every 3 years. When the moon is dyed in blood, they will return once more. Tonight, I, by 2 elder of Black Mountain tribe, will help you. The willowy old man laughed darkly and bit his tongue. As he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, the blood-red stones underneath his feet exploded and floated in midair. The elder of Dark Mountain tribe, by 2, also levitated in the air. He spread his arms out. His eyes were filled with madness and excitement. The red stones began rotating quickly in midair and formed a gigantic picture. The picture was spherical in shape and there was a crescent moon within it. The entire thing was colored a bloody red. Wings of the moon, wake up. Awaken from your long slumber and come forth. By 2 spat out another mouthful of fresh blood which instantly turned into bloody mist and fused into the giant picture in the sky. A roaring sound came from the picture and it exploded suddenly. It turned into a big patch of red mist which spread across its surroundings like rolling waves. At that moment, the entirety of Dark Mountain shook. The trembling could be clearly felt as if the land was moving and the mountains were shaking. The tremors caused an uproar within Dark Mountain tribe and Dark Dragon tribe. Su Ming, who was in the cave within Black Flame Mountain, also felt the tremors. His expression changed. He even heard a faint roar from within the deeper parts of the cave as the mountain shook. He froze and immediately stopped all activity. He retreated a few steps and climbed through the exit. When he climbed out of the cave, he almost gasped in surprise. Right before his eyes was the blood moon hanging in the sky. The blood moon. Su Ming's face immediately turned pale. At that moment, a thick stench of blood came from within Black Flame Mountain. Su Ming did not even hesitate. He understood the connotations of the blood moon and had even calculated the days before it appeared. However, he did not expect it to appear earlier. He immediately turned around and crawled back into the cave. He knew that he could not find a place to hide once he was outside. There was no time for him to return to the tribe either. Once he returned to the cave, he immediately took out his horn and quickly cut through the wall beside him. It was as if he was struck by madness. The roaring sound within the cave was becoming clearer and there were even signs of other sounds amid the roar. Su Ming's eyes were bloodshot. Fortunately, he was used to the place and the horn was extremely sharp. Soon enough, he cut open a small hole and he crawled in immediately. Su Ming then blocked the entrance of the hole with the stones that fell out when he was cutting through the wall. He did not even mind the heat the hole emitted. The very moment he crawled into the hole, a gust of red mist rushed out from within the cave. Once it filled up the entire cave, it escaped through the tunnel with a rumble. Su Ming heard the sound clearly. Under the light of the blood moon, the 5 summits of Dark Mountain seemingly erupted like volcanoes. The rumbles shook the skies and a huge amount of red mist poured out from the summits. It seemed like the mist had been inside the 5 summits of Dark Mountain since the beginning of time. As it erupted from the mountains, the mist immediately covered the sky. The mist from Dark Dragon Mountain leaked out of the mountain from its cracks. Some even poured out from the place Su Ming obtained the Dark Dragon's saliva. If Su Ming looked closely, he would have noticed that the places the Dark Dragons avoided like the plague as they chased him around all those years, were the places where the red mist was the thickest. The other mountains were the same as Dark Dragon Mountain, especially Black Flame Mountain. The amount of mist that erupted from the mountain was shocking. As the mist spread around the place, a humming sound echoed. There were sounds of many wings flapping mixed in with the humming, creating a rhapsody of death, which terrified all who heard it. He saw red shadows coming out of the 5 summits along with the mist. There were also piercing roars echoing through the sky. The red shadows were strange beasts that had a pair of wings and red eyes each. They were the size of a palm and had 6 limbs. They also had human faces which were filled with madness and lust for blood. They were the wings of the moon. The number of the wings of the moon mounted to at least tens of thousands. They covered the skies until it was completely red. As they cried out, they rushed towards Black Mountain tribe, Dark Mountain tribe, Dark Dragon Tribe, and all the places where wild beasts dwelt in the forest. They did not have a conscience. They were only fueled by resentment and a thirst for blood. They only knew how to kill and drink fresh blood, especially blood of the members of the Berserker tribe. It only further spurred their insanity. In fact, they sometimes skipped feasting on wild beasts and went straight for the Berserker tribes. There was an uproar within Dark Mountain Tribe. There were screams filled with terror echoing in the air. Chen Xin's face was pale as she held on tightly onto Bei Ling, who was beside her. Bei Ling's face too was pale. Lei Chen was standing further ahead, overcome by irritation. He wanted to find Su Ming, but he did not see him among the people within the settlement. As he was filled with worry for his friend, he was further taken aback by the scene in the sky. The terrified normal tribe members were silenced by the berserkers in the tribe. Gradually, all the people of tribe focused their gazes on the burning wooden stage and on the person who was looking at the sky. The elder's face was pale, but they could not see it due to the fire. His pupils were contracted. He saw the red mist and heard the mad cries coming from afar. How could this be? Not only did the blood moon appear earlier, even the wings of the moon have increased. There were only about thousands of them the last time. He took a sharp breath and shouted without hesitation. Normal members of the tribe, hide. Berserkers, take out all of the meat we have in store. Cut them open and wait for my orders. The elder's body trembled slightly. He lowered his head. He looked at the members of his tribe and closed his eyes. The same also happened in Dark Dragon Tribe. Once Bai Ling and the other members of the tribe heard the elder's orders, the fear in their eyes increased. She would never forget what happened 9 years ago. When she was still a child, she saw her playmate being snatched away by numerous wings of the moon before her eyes. He disappeared into the mist as he cried and screamed. Once he was dragged into Dark Mountain, only a slow and painful death awaited him. The blood-red moon became a vague shadow in the sky as it was covered by the mist. However, the shadows that whistled through the mist were coming closer. The large number of wings of the moon split into 3 groups and sped towards the 3 tribes near them. In Dark Mountain Tribe, the elder was staring at the sky. The moment the wings of the moon appeared, he swung the bone cane in his right hand. A lake of fire spread underneath him and covered the entire tribe, but the lake of fire did not burn any of the houses. It looked like an illusion surrounded the tribe. Throw the meat. The elder growled. Immediately the terrified berserkers within the tribe's settlement threw a bleeding creature towards the sky. Chapters 25 through 27 conclude with a shocking discovery that completely reframes the nature of Su Ming's pursuit. The truth he seeks is darker and more devastating than he could have imagined. His next moves will determine not only his fate but potentially the fate of the entire cosmos. Thank you for listening to this mind-bending segment of Pursuit of the Truth from Panda Audiobooks. What do you think is the ultimate lie in this universe? Share your predictions below. Join us next time for episode 10, covering chapters 28, 29, and 30, as the pursuit becomes a matter of life and death. Like, subscribe, and continue the epic saga.